Well, we are absolutely delighted now to take a real trip down memory lane to two people that were a huge part of Kids for Drama's first 10 years, and in Emma's case, still a huge part in Kids for Drama's life. So a big welcome to Keiran and Emma. Great to have you on our Zoom today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
And, we should say, Keiran, for many years you played Emma and I's son, but we'll get to that a little later in our Zoom. So, Keiran, tell us, how long were you with Kids for Drama?
Oh, crikey. I would have started, I think, in 1998. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
I don't think I've ever spoken about anything that was sort of 20 years ago, but it's sort of in that realm now, isn't it? 98, and I think I probably would have done it till I was, I would have been about 10 years old at that point. Did it all through, I guess, primary and intermediate and into my early teens, and would have been nearly 10 years, I think.
Yeah, and we got you back a few years ago with some of your fabulous music you wrote, which we put into our stage show Island Escape.
Yeah, it was a nice little surprise. They those songs sort of got written and then pushed away into under a rug, and it was cool to see them brought back to life.
And Emma, when did you first start?
Well, I was trying to work it out, and I'm pretty sure that Callum, who is turning 22 this year, was only one. So 21 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's right. I would say that's about right. Was definitely a baby at the time. And you're still heavily involved in Kids for Drama, but also still involved in the arts.
I sure am. So Kids for Drama was at a time that I was training to be a teacher, and was my part-time job to help me fund that, I suppose. And I really only stopped Kids for Drama when I became a full-time teacher, because doing after-school classes on top of the co-curricular just wasn't going to work. And then I've popped in every now and then for holiday programs, to be an outside eye on things, to be a guest. And then it's 4 years ago, I left full-time teaching to set up my own performing arts company, Stage Antics. And at that time, I've probably been more involved in Kids for Drama since then. And of course, alongside you at the radio, Stephen.
Yeah, which is really cool. We get to spend every Sunday talking about the arts. Keiran, do you still have any arts in your life? What are you up to these days?
I wish I did. It's pretty low key for me. I mean, it's insane that I have 3 young boys, all sort of preschool, that get the Daddy 101 show most evenings while they're in the bath with the guitar and whatnot. The quality has probably plummeted a lot, but yeah, it hasn't. Although it's not an active part of what I do on a day-to-day basis, it's certainly a life that's ingrained in my daily life, no doubt. And there's certainly skills and experiences that I've taken from that time that play out always. And it's certainly something I think I'll be encouraging my kids to get into as well.
Hey, do either of you have any funny memories or favourite stories of your time at K4D?
Who's going first?
You can if you like, Keiran.
I was thinking just before we got in this call, I thought, crikey, this is such a long time ago. I've got a terrible long-term memory. And so I think it's more than specifics of things that happen. It's sort of memories, sort of broad memories that I have of sort of periods within that sort of Kids for Drama period. I think theatre restaurant is something that we the 3 of us did together. We started out with fishy business and then into cabaret cellars and whatnot. They had some great times, right, and some real experiences. I think one that comes to mind is our trip to Paeroa, right, which was interesting. We had a stage where it wasn't really a stage. It was
they were drums, weren't they? Barrels with plywood over the top.
Yeah. I mean, safety-wise, would probably be an absolute no-go these days. I'm surprised no one got truly injured there. And I don't know if this is a reflection on Paeroa or whatnot, but the crowd that night was a lot of alcohol was consumed, and I don't think it was not from us, obviously, but from the audience. And I think towards the end of the night, it was almost difficult to decipher who was performing and who was watching. I think at one point I thought I was a spectator because everybody just went crazy.
I can remember we all met in the kitchen, Emma, and we said, how do we end this? Like, we'd already done our ending 2 hours before. We'd run out of material. These guys just kept going and going. There was no way. I remember us saying, let's just put La Bamba on or something and see what happens. And they all got on the tables, and these people on trestle tables dancing. Yeah, it was quite a tour.
And then, of course, we all had to stay in the jockeys' quarters for the night.
Yeah, because it was at the Pyro race course. Yeah.
It's funny those particular performances where it is totally crazy in a way are a lot easier, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than the times where you sort of have those audience that are really difficult to sort of kickstart and get moving, and when they're so into it, you sort of just go with the flow, But that was definitely on the extreme of that side, no doubt.
It sure was, and I think similarly, that was really well said, wasn't it? Similarly, during those times, of course, and I always tell this story because Stephen and I as well did This Is Your Life parties for a little while, where we went into people's homes for their birthdays and their celebrations and kind of hosted a This Is Your Life. And we had a couple of really good ones at Marie's house, and one of them included a spectator or a unknowing audience member that thought that we were actually a married couple having a domestic in the driveway who called the police as I was trying to climb out the sunroof of Stephen's car, screaming at the top of my lungs. Taylor's obviously never heard that story by her facial response.
But isn't that a testament to how good our acting was, Emma, that someone called the police on us? I mean, why anyone would climb out a sunroof of a Mitsubishi Chariot, who knows? But yeah, they were great times.
And Keiran, you touched on a little bit about your skills in drama now, being a dad, but and to both of you too, what are the skills that you learned at KFD or grow at KFD that you're doing, using still now in your other aspects of your life?
I think the biggest thing for me is people, right? And learning to navigate people. And I think that there is a skill that no matter what you do, it's important, and it's important not just in your work life, but also in your family life and your relationships that you have. And, like anything, you practice something, you get better at it. We can sort of conceptualize that with sport, and we understand it with education, we study for an exam, etc. But in order to sort of navigate people, you need to sort of increase your sample size of the variety of people that you're meeting and interacting with, and the types of interactions that you're having. And I think for me, Kids for Drama and performing arts, but I think Kids for Drama in particular, just given the sort of community aspect of it, was just a great, medium for that, right? The amount of different people that we'd meet, the types of interactions, the fact, we went away, but we're just talking there about going away together to Paidor and sleeping in the stables, right? We did theatre and education, got on the tour with each other for 2 or 3 weeks. You really get to know people, and they're people that aren't like you as well. Everybody's different. Everybody's got a different story, and I think that experience there is something that definitely plays a huge part in my life now.
And yeah, I totally agree with what you just said. I mean, for me, it's the continuation of working for kids, the joy that Stephen brings to all of his classes and his activities, that continual positive outlook, which I know at times when I was a younger teacher, I struggled with the positivity sometimes, and kind of coming to terms with that positivity and it will be right, mate, versus the want for high expectations and quality sometimes, so that was probably a big learning at the start. But I agree, it's all the people stuff. It's the fact that, I mean, for us at the start of the year, of course, we that was me seeing Keiran again for probably the first time in a good 17 years since I'd seen Keiran. And, you know, when we come together as a group, we are still family. We've been a big part of each other's lives. And I mean, I don't know if this is the right time to bring it up, that of course, Keiran met his now, you know, mother of his children through K4D. It's a pretty big thing.
Oh, we're getting to that, don't you worry. Keiran, you were part of our first ever touring show, Don't Trash It, Stash It. What was it like to be part of something that went on to tour for nearly 15 years, including a performance inside the Beehive at Parliament?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. It's a pretty photo. Yeah, I mean, at the time, I guess there was no sort of understanding just how sort of big and long it was. This saga was going to go on for, and at the time it was. I mean, for me, you saw how young I was in that photo. It was, you know, it was all fun. You know, it was just a really, really good time, and yeah, like you know, we've already touched on that whole family aspect already. That was a huge display of that, really. I mean, you know, there's the four of us that spent a lot of time together on that tour. So yeah, that was awesome. Theatre and education sort of has its different challenges. I mean, the acting and the performing arts is sort of a much smaller part of it than in sort of everything else that I did with Kids for Drama. It's still a big part of it, but then you've got all of these other elements, right? Where you've got the touring, you know, and you've got the being together all the time. You've got the logistics. I mean, we're doing, what is it, like three shows a day, I think. Yeah. 3
different venues, 3 shows a day.
Different venues, yeah. So that's a matter of packing down a set, you know, packing in a set, doing a show, packing it down, and you're on repeat, right? And you're doing this 3 times a day for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it was. And there's a challenge of keeping that fresh, you know. It's like, how do you, that's a little bit different, right? They're doing sort of a 2-week musical where, you know, it's longer, there's more variety within that sort of 2-hour performance. You've got probably another cast, you know, where you're sort of only doing half of those 2 weeks. Yeah, there's a lot of other peripheral challenges, I guess, that come around the theatre and education. But it was an amazing time.
And some of these tours, there was that you've been on, there was rumors that you were stuck in a snowstorm. There was mentions of, I don't know, Shakira, not her herself, but her music. Can you tell me about that?
No.
You're really lucky I don't have the videos.
The snowstorm doesn't, it rings a bell. But
we were on our way back, I think, from Wellington or one of our South tours, and got stuck in, I don't know, somewhere on the desert road in a snowstorm. So we had Vicky on tour with us at the time. We ended up in a motel somewhere, and all we had was a couple of board games. We hadn't planned to spend these extra days. So suddenly there was these random videos being made with an old-fashioned video camera and Shakira's music playing in the background and shadow puppets. And
that's right.
It was pretty intense. And we should say, because we interviewed Rebecca Head in one of these earlier episodes, it was her brother Jordan that was with us, and the wonderful Megan and Rose. So 4 of us and 2 adults locked in a snowstorm for 48 hours.
That's right. It was Turangi, wasn't it? I think.
Turangi, that's it. Yeah. And what a motel to stay.
Yeah, top motel. And I met the Shakira thing, I think, because this was back when there was just CDs, right? Maybe even, was it tapes or CDs?
It might have been cassettes.
I think it was CDs.
Some people will need to Google this after this interview to find out what a cassette is.
That's right. But it was Shakira's. You used to get like singles, you know, which would only have like 3 songs in them, and the one thing you wanted it for was just the one song, right? And the other 2 songs were really stink songs. So I think it was that Shakira, Underneath Your Clothes. I don't know why it was that. Why it was that song?
That was her number. Yeah.
Maybe that was her. That was the one. I don't know if it was actually my CD or not. Possibly. I did like that kind of music. And yeah, that was certainly played on on repeat.
And it's funny how they say music triggers memories. You know, if that song ever plays on the radio, it instantly takes me back to that whole tour. Yeah.
I bet.
So Emma, this theatre restaurant that you and Stephen created together, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh.
So, well, it actually came out of Fishy Business more than anything else. So we'd done Fishy Business as a play, which had this couple in it. And then prior to coming to Auckland, I'd actually been part of Fawlty Towers in Nelson, playing Sybil. And I think it was kind of Stephen and I saying, well, what could we inspire our senior students to go on to? And could we make some kind of a performance troupe for our alumni, to have senior performers, to have that experience of what it means to be part of a professional thing. So that's kind of how it came about, really.
And Stephen, Mum made hundreds of cheesecakes for the...
It was a family affair. Dad was behind the bar every night, serving, not drinking, and Mum was in the kitchen. Cheesecakes. We did like platters of food that Emma and I had organised before each performance, and then dessert was always Mum's famous cheesecakes, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds made. We used to get a lot of like school staff groups and banking organisations, and what we started getting was repeat business. They would come along, fall in love with these characters, and then go, well, when's your next show? So suddenly we were having to create sort of version 2 and 3 and little tweaks. What we, I think, originally advertised as a 2-week run ran for 6 months in its first bit, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, out at the Corbin Estate Arts Centre. Now it's known as, it was the Corbin Winery in its day.
Yeah.
And I recall probably the craziest time was when, of course, you had seen it drive, and we did a couple of versions of it up there with that tiny, skinny little staircase. And the craziness of taking people downstairs into the performance dungeon. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, alcohol taking, you've got an audience drinking. So the only way to finish the show was me coming out wearing nothing but my boxers. And as still does to this day, clears a room. Very effective.
Or the fire alarm and having to evacuate. We used to pull the fire alarm and tell everyone there was a fire and evacuate them, and then literally say good night and shut the door.
Was the craziness, was that, why do you think it was, so successful? Or, what was it about it?
I think we all had fun doing it. I mean, we had Keiran as our son. We had Lisa Callum and Ben Fraser as our crazy in-laws that were the Westies from the camping ground. I'm just trying to think what other guests we had. I'm sure we had someone else.
Yeah, over the years, different people came in and out, but definitely Ben, Lisa, Keiran were sort of our core family, if you like, and then others came in. I think Olivia ended up behind the bar for at least a year at one point as well. Our barmaids became part of the show. Yeah, no 2 times was ever the same. It was improv. It was improv at its best.
Keiran, what was it like playing the son? Oh, sorry, Emma.
No, that's right. I was just going to say, I think too, for people coming along as groups, they were able to have fun with each other as much as they were able to have fun with us. So they knew it was kind of not coming for a sit down, be quiet, watch a performance, but it was, they knew they were a part of it.
Yeah.
That was the point I was going to make, actually, is that it's that part of it thing, right? I think everybody's got a little bit inside them that likes to sort of be a bit of a performer somewhere deep down, right? And I think when you sort of those improv sort of right in your face, all amongst your kind of acting displays, is sort of it brings the audience to be part of it, and so they can say a few things, and get amongst the dialogue and whatnot.
And Keiran, Emma alluded to it earlier. You met your wonderful partner Olivia through Kids for Drama, and Olivia was not only a student but was one of our first office staff when we had an office to manage. so many things happening, and actually was at our house the day Katie was born, and disturbed a burglar coming through at some point as well, all in the space of 24 hours. So we have amazing memories of Olivia, who became very much a nanny in our life as well. But how cool was that you ended up together?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably should have been my answer when you asked what role does kids drama still play in your life. It's like it's a pretty big one there. It's funny the way things happen, I guess. And we grew together, I guess, from really early on because of Kids to Drama, and because of that, we just became closer and closer, and then we had children, and that was it.
And we'll have to get her on a future episode to tell the true story of living with Keiran today.
Yeah. I'm doing my bit first. So,
guys, we are out of time. So to wrap, I just want to sort of pull back to our reason for doing this a little bit. Is, we're in lockdown. These are challenging times. It's cool to look back on 30 years, but we've also got a current family of Kids for Drama students doing it tough. What advice, Emma, if you kick it off, what advice would you give our wonderful current students listening to this to cope during these times?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that tomorrow is a new day, and to wake up knowing it's a new day, and that we've done it before, and people in the past. I mean, we're interviewing today on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and hearing all the stories from those people that have kept going, and we will keep going. And yes, it's a time at the moment, but this is not going to be forever, and things will adapt. Keep talking, keep expressing how you're feeling, and know that there are so many people out there that are, one, in the same boat as you, but two, care and are here to listen. And your Kids for Drama family, your tutors, your artistic team for Adam's family, we're all there for you. And just tell us what's happening and let us be a part of it and let us help.
Emma, it's interesting you mentioned that 20th anniversary of 9/11 today. Keiran, I'm not sure if it was you on tour with me. We were at Royal Heights School when this all outbroke. It was Don't Trash It, Stash It. Might not have been your team, but I remember us rocking up to the school, and they had a number of American exchange students there. So we were and ahhing whether the show would go on. It was a really interesting day etched in our memory. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything you've done and continue to do for Kids for Drama. They were amazing times those first years, and continue to be. So thanks for being a part of it and chatting with us today.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us.